Let's begin with the complete breaths, inhaling all the way down into the abdomen. Holding, exhaling. Notice how the body relaxes itself on the exhales. So if you haven't muted yourself, go ahead and mute yourself. Or I think Chris has done it. Sanjay Chonang Sokchi Chonam La Janchu Bardu Dagni Kapsuchi Dagji Jinso Jipe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchir Sanjay Drupar Shog Sanjay Chodam Shokchi Sonam La Janchu Bardu Dagni Kapsuchi Dagji Jinso Jipe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchir Sanjay Drupar Shog. In Buddha, Dharma, and supreme spiritual community, we go for refuge until fully enlightened. By the power of all six perfections, from generosity to non-dual wisdom, may we realize Buddhahood for the sake of all beings. Crowning the head of all beings throughout space, Chenrezig appears from Hri. Upon a white lotus in full moon seat, 5 colored light rays shine from their clear white body. They are smiling and watching with compassionate eyes. Of their 4 hands, the first pair is joined at their heart. The other right hand holds a crystal rosary, and the left a white lotus. They are adorned with silks and precious jewels. An antelope skin covers their shoulders. Buddha Amitabha crowns their head. They sit with legs in Vajra position. Their backrest is a stainless moon. All refuges are united in them. Lord of whitest form, unsullied by faults, crowned by the perfect Buddha, viewing all beings with compassionate eyes, to you, Chenrezig, I bow. Thus, praying intently, light emanates from Chenrezig's noble form, purifying all manifestations of impure karma and confusion. The world becomes Dzogchen. The body, speech, and mind of all beings become the body, speech, and mind of Chenrezig. All appearances, sounds, and cognition, undivided from emptiness. So while we're chanting the mantra, just visualize Chenrezig, generalize the deity of compassion, viewing all beings with compassionate eyes. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri 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 Om Mani Padme Hum Om Mani Padme Hum Ri 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 Om Mani Padme Hum Om Mani Padme Hum Ri 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 Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Hum Ri 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 Om Mani Padme Hum Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme. Om Mani. Om Mani. Om Mani. Om Mani Padme. Om Mani Padme. Self and others appear in Chenrezig's noble form. All sounds are the melody of the 6 syllables. All thoughts are the expanse of great wisdom. Rest in meditation. In this space of open awareness, I invite you to bring to mind someone in your life that you recognize as having loved you unconditionally. As you bring them to mind, visualize them in front of you, looking at you, smiling at you. And they're sending you the wish of love for you to have deepest happiness and well-being. We call this person a benefactor because they have loved us unconditionally. They have been sending this wish of love for us. It doesn't matter if we're still connected with them or even if they're even still alive. That wish of love is still resonating within us. Their wish for us to have happiness and well-being continues to resonate within us, in our heart. Allow yourself to receive the wish. Feel the experience the radiance of the wish saturating you, radiating every cell, every pore, every atom of your being. The loving wish for you to have happiness and well-being. With each in-breath, you're receiving the wish into your heart, into the heart chakra. I invite you now to, on the out-breath, extend the wish to your benefactor. May you have happiness and deepest well-being. Receiving the wish on the in-breath, extending the wish on the out-breath. I invite you now to think of someone for whom you are a benefactor. Visualize them next to your benefactor. And on the out-breath, extend the wish to the person for whom you are a benefactor. For whom you are a benefactor. May you have happiness, deepest well-being. Honor how you feel. Om Mani Padme Hum Ri. 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. By this virtue, may we swiftly realize and fully embody the attainment of Chenrezig, and thereby bring all, without exception, to its complete realization. From the power of recitation and meditation, as soon as this impure body is discarded at death, may I and all connected to me be born miraculously in Dzogchen. Then immediately after such birth, may I quickly traverse the 10 levels of the Bodhisattva path and send emanations in all directions for the benefit of others. So I thought we would finish up on part 2 of the Lojong. So I want to just review this a little bit with us. In part 2, part 1, of course, is the 4 thoughts, which are companion to the 4 noble truths. In part 2, we're introduced to absolute and relative bodhicitta. So let's just be clear of what we're talking about with bodhicitta. The Lojong translates as attitude transformation. Okay, this is what the term Lojong means: attitude transformation. It's the opportunity to change any attitudes that are self-centered, self-cherishing, attitudes of negativity, being critical, judgmental, comparing, coveting, having pride, any attitudes that we've just kind of accumulated over the course of our lifetime, mental habits, mental, emotional, physical habits that we've accumulated over our lifetime that we feel defined by. You know, this is self-cherishing is feeling defined by how I'm experiencing, how I'm thinking, how I feel, how I act, how I look, what I have, things that I have, or things that I don't have. So the notion then of bodhicitta is to kind of, number one, kind of see the emptiness nature of these attachments and aversions, to no longer feel defined by basically superficial life experiences. I like to say adventitious life experiences. Just things that have happened to us, we feel defined by things in our past, things that we'd like to do, people we know, where we live, what we have. So the idea of bodhicitta is this attitude, sometimes it's referred to as the attitude of enlightenment, the awakened view, bodhicitta, where I recognize that we all do this. We all have this tendency to feel defined by our life experience. I do that as I recognize it myself, then I also recognize it in others. That we're so much the same, so much alike. Right? I mean, superficial differences of appearances or anything else only tend to confuse that, to obscure that realization, that understanding that we are essentially the same. Our humanity is essentially the same. We have the same kinds of thoughts, same kinds of feelings, same kinds of suffering, same kinds of joy. Okay. So the bodhicitta is this attitude of awakening, the attitude of enlightenment, where by thinking about myself, I've limited and excluded the reality of how things actually are. By self-cherishing, I've, it's limited my ability to love all beings unconditionally, to love myself and all beings unconditionally. Not at the expense of myself. I'm not sacrificing myself. I'm participating in this field of unconditional love. So the first part, the absolute bodhicitta, is kind of recognizing the emptiness nature of my attachments and aversions, my attitudes, my thoughts, even feelings, my life experiences, all arising and dissolving in this unconfounded emptiness space of awareness. So that's our meditation, isn't it? Where I'm just resting in as awareness. I'm just being awareness. Not trying to figure anything out, not trying to think of, oh, how I'm going to benefit by this or that. Not feeling defined by any of it. So our absolute practice is resting in the natural state as awareness and virtue. That's just exuding who we are, how we are, what we are. Then the relative bodhicitta is our practice of kind of making that work in our life. You know, applying that now to our life experiences, applying that to my relationships, and relationships to anything and everything. Things that I have, people that I know, family, programs that we watch on TV, followers that we have on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. All of this is all relative, isn't it? So it's now making application of who and what I am with this enlightened view of equanimity, the equalness of myself and others. How we're all participating in this human experiment, this human experience. So noticing tendencies to have negativity, to make judgment, to be comparing, to get down on ourselves or get down on others. Just noticing these tendencies to do it and recognizing the emptiness nature of these experiences. The essential awareness virtue of everything I'm experiencing. Wisdom, compassion of everything I'm experiencing. So one practice of doing that, we did this morning, it was the benefactor, where I bring to mind someone in my life who's loved me unconditionally, and I just experienced that. I allow myself to experience what was actually going on between this person that loved me unconditionally and myself. That they're making this wish for me to have deepest well-being. And then we bring to mind people for whom we're a benefactor. So this is, first we're receiving, right? And then we're extending. Receiving the wish, the bodhisattva benefactor wish of unconditional love, and then extending that same thing then to others for whom we're benefactors. And of course, this practice can go on, and we've done it, different variations of this, over the years. Thinking of people that we don't like, for example, people we'd like to avoid, and now seeing them in this context, right? Like they too have benefactors. They too have people for whom they're benefactors, right? So it gives me a different view of things that allows me to see things a little bit differently than how I've kind of allowed my conditioning. Right? I now have a choice about how I'm seeing others, how I'm responding or reacting. Right? So this is the bodhicitta now that's starting to do the work, isn't it? It's innate virtue and awareness that's now kind of taken responsibility for how I think and how I feel and what I want to do. Right? This is this enlightened view now that is starting to come into play in everything I'm doing. Yeah. So when it says, breathing out, breathing in, extending and receiving, this is what we're doing. We're breathing in awareness, or breathing out virtue. Breathing in awareness, breathing out virtue. So the part two then ends up with kind of just things to notice. What are some kind of helpful things that I can notice? And it starts with the three objects, the three afflictions, and the three sources of virtue. So the three objects, I notice that, myself, others, right? And then what kind of activity is going on there? The three poisons, or the three afflictions, my tendency for attachment, aversion, or indifference. Sometimes we refer to indifference as ignorance, but just kind of just being indifferent. Things I like, things that are pleasant, things that are unpleasant, and then things that are just kind of not really noticing, neutral. Okay. And the three sources of virtue. Right? That everything we're experiencing is wisdom, that we are held in a field of love and compassion, and that joy is our natural state. This doesn't mean we're happy all the time. It's just a sense of being, a sense of participating, right? Being engaged. Okay. So then the instruction is bring everything we do into practice. Every thought, every feeling, every action. And by bringing it into practice, it means allowing awareness to do the work. Offering us a choice. Is this really how I feel? Is this really what I think? Is this, is this what I want to do? And letting awareness do the work there. Okay? I just want to kind of summarize that a little bit before we move down to part 3. Next week, we'll start with part 3. Okay. So thoughts, insights, comments, realizations, questions?
I have a thought that came up as you were asking your benefactor. So a very, very dear friend of mine who I've known for years came up. And then you were saying them holding, good thoughts and goodwill and happiness and, projecting it towards me and love, and to find those things and to be those things in my life. And the thing is, I've found those things in my life very strongly, and I've connected with all of that and found happiness and kind of have found a way to redirect myself back to a nice balance when I kind of get, off balance. But my friend, the more I've done that, the more difficult it is for my friend to see me find these things when she hasn't found them. And so there's a lot of jealousy. Not expressed jealousy, but I can feel it. And there's a lot of, so that I can't talk to her about it. She won't engage in a kind of in-depth conversation with me at all. Even if there's a book lying on the table, that is inspirational, I can't even mention it, how, helpful it is, or, she just just pushes that all away. And yet I know she loves me dearly, and is always, we're connected at the hip in a lot of ways, and but she's distanced herself from that wish she had for me all along.
Mhm.
And now that I've kind of found it, she can't work with it.
So I think that's beautiful, Maggie, because it brings up that our benefactors aren't necessarily enlightened,
Mm-hmm.
right? They just love us.
Yeah, they just love us, but
In their way, in whatever their way is, they
mm-hmm.
just love us. But
yeah,
so you're right. I mean, sometimes we have to be kind of careful how we
mm-hmm.
kind of share our awakening.
Yeah,
How we interact with loved ones without trying to make a show of it.
mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I'm the one that now I have this. And I'm not saying that's what's going on. I'm just saying we have to be careful there, and to realize that everyone has certain boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
and it's uncomfortable to go outside those boundaries.
Yeah,
It makes us uncomfortable. We limit ourselves by that, but nonetheless, it's how we're also protecting ourselves.
mm-hmm.
So you're being sensitive to that.
Mm-hmm.
You're sensitive to how you're speaking and to what you're doing, and that's totally appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't want to build up an image of our benefactor that they're somehow like realized beings.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Oftentimes not. Oftentimes our benefactors are really quite singularly focused, right?
Right.
And but that they still, it's such a joy for them to be loving us.
Mm-hmm.
So we just are acknowledging that. Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Any other thoughts?
Okay, let me unmute myself. And for me, when I thought of my dear benefactor, my dear darling grandfather, who I loved me unconditionally, and then what came up for me was huge feelings of sadness and guilt, because when I was a teenager, I wasn't so nice to him. Mm-hmm. And that's in the way of just letting all his love come to me. Mm-hmm. And I was surprised by that, but I know it's true, of course. Mm-hmm. And what can I do with that?
Well, you're not that teenager anymore, are you?
No. No, I'm not. Yes. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a challenge, like when working with inmates, there's, I have these periods, where I wasn't very nice to my parents, and I wasn't, there's all this regret and all this kind of guilt and blame and all these other things that start coming up, right?
Yes.
That now are now getting in the way of this wish of love that is still there, right? Regardless of all that. So a part of it is just forgiving ourselves, our immaturity, I mean, immaturity is huge. Immaturity is like, let's say the cause, right, of so much difficulty, so much suffering, right? Not, there's physical maturity, there's intellectual maturity, but emotional and spiritual maturity take a lot of work. They take effort to become more emotionally mature, more spiritually mature. So we forgive that immature person.
Okay, so I need to forgive my immature person.
Well, I mean, we have that opportunity, don't we?
Yes.
It's giving us that opportunity to see that, well, in this situation, I didn't handle that so well, right? My thoughts really weren't like the bodhicitta, were they? But,
no.
But it takes, bodhicitta is a very mature state of mind, isn't it? It's a very mature state of being, bodhicitta, isn't it? Because it's no longer limited by, being a self-cherishing, self-centered teenager. Right? When I'm just thinking about myself all the time, how I feel, what I think, what I do, when I'm just if I'm just the center of the conversation in my mind all the time, it's hard to have this view that others are doing the same thing, right? Having the same kinds of experience. So yeah, I see it as an opportunity for forgiveness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Doesn't mean you're a mean-spirited person.
No.
No, you're not. You're not, right? But it doesn't mean we haven't done mean-spirited things. Right?
Yes.
Right. So we have to forgive ourselves that. We can't expect other people to forgive us. We do. That's our work. And in that forgiveness moment, I have a choice, don't I? I'm making a choice now to no longer identify with that person that was so self-centered, to no longer feel defined by something I did or something I said, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the power of forgiveness. It relieves us of our self-centeredness.
Fabulous. So that's my work
That's your work.
right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's our work. That's the work that we're all doing. Right? We're all doing this work. We all have things in our life we've regretted. The way we treated people we loved. And, you know, what was it Ram Dass would say, if you think you're enlightened, go spend a holiday with your family. Right? You'll see all this stuff that comes up, right?
Yes.
All these old kind of self-centered, right? It's a good,
Mhm.
yeah. Other
Thank
thoughts?
you.
Other
Yes, thank you
insights?
very much.
I have something to say.
Good morning, Philip.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think it's easier for us to realize happiness for ourselves if we know that somebody who loves us unconditionally wants that for us. It kind of gives us a reason to go and look for it for ourselves.
Exactly. What did they see, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If I'm feeling unhappy or miserable, what did they see, right? Yeah. No, that's exactly it. That there's this field of love that has been around us all of our life. Right? There's never been a moment in our life that there wasn't this field of love that wasn't operant, okay? And the benefactor is just a way of pinpointing that, isn't it? Just seeing, oh, okay, well, there's an example, right? That person loved me, right? If we need it, we've got it. That's it.
I have something.
Please.
So I'm going to throw down some bodhicitta. Forgive me. I'm just going to play with this.
I don't know what that
So
means.
you will.
Yeah.
So I have a question and an answer. So the question I'll start with is, so the absolute, this word emptiness is really fascinating to me because I feel like the absolute is empty of emptiness. It's full of being and awareness. Is that safe to say?
Okay, so oftentimes people interpret emptiness as being like a void, right? But it's not a physical state.
Mm-hmm.
It's an actual state.
Mm.
Right? The emptiness quality is that nothing survives. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the part that puts you on the edge of the cliff, right? Oh my God.
No thing survives.
Yeah. Yeah. But the other part of it is that everything participates in everything that is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So everything is contributing now to everything that is. So even though what is isn't necessarily going to be here tomorrow or a century from now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nonetheless, everything is participating in its being. So the emptiness is also the source of everything. It's not the end of everything. It's not the void of everything. It's ultimately, it's the source of everything. You see that?
Yes, I do.
That's kind of a key part. That's a real key part to this emptiness conversation, is kind of getting the fact that it's also the source of everything.
Yes, thank you. And then the other part that I just wanted to shine light on is the benefactor part. Interesting experience I had, and I just want to say that there is no separation in the field of love. So the benefactor is all of us and ourselves, right?
Yes. That's why you're invited to think of someone for whom you're a benefactor. Now, in an extended practice, we would start now thinking of a lot of people for whom we are benefactors, or a lot of people that are benefactors for us in very small ways. And you know, this little practice we do of the loving, caring moment, that's a benefactor moment, isn't it? Right? We're being a benefactor just by extending a moment of kindness to someone else. They're doing the same for us, right? Someone else is doing the same for us. So that's where the field becomes, really gets, we start with kind of a singular point, but then we see that this now applies to almost everything we're experiencing. I mean, you start looking around. I mean, the clothes you're wearing, the chair you're sitting on, right? The food we eat, everything is being offered to us with millions of loving hearts and hands, isn't it? So the benefactor principle is a universal kind of field of love that we're all participating in.
Yes.
Does that help?
Very affirming. Thank you.
Andrea, can I invite you to maybe chip in here? I know this has been one of your practices for a long time too. I mean, your responses to some of the other comments, any thoughts?
Just that when I lead the practice, it was interesting to hear you say it the way that you did today, because I often, when I lead the practice, I say breathing it in. So it is all around us and in us. And so that was really lovely that Chris touched in on that for everyone today. And that's just, a helpful instruction for me personally when we do this practice, is just recognizing that we can breathe this in at any moment, and it's not outside of us. So I don't have anything else to say, I guess, about them.
No, that's perfect. I mean, that's in this state of being awareness, every breath is wisdom. Every breath is a compassionate gift of the universe, if you will, right? That's good. I like that. That's very nice. So just the act of breathing is like bodhicitta.
The conscious act of breathing. I mean, that's really, because if it exists within us at all times, then it doesn't matter whether we're breathing or not. Like, it's just that it's there, right? And
well,
but
it's not there if we're not breathing.
What is not there?
We're not there.
As
right,
awareness,
it's still there. Like, one of the tricky things about focusing so much on the breath is that once we've passed on, we don't have the breath anymore. But that doesn't mean that this isn't all still awareness, right?
Right.
So we can't get too attached to the breath either, but it's a tool that we can use while we're here. I guess the only other thing that I would say, at one point we said there was some instruction about feelings, and I think it's really important to honor and respect our feelings and to allow ourselves to, first of all, sit with our feelings so that we can really allow ourselves into the wisdom of whatever that feeling is trying to tell us. And sometimes it's trying to tell us that we're being selfish, but sometimes it's trying to tell us there's something out of alignment or that we need to look into further for more, more wisdom.
Mhm.
So checking in with our body, checking in with our feelings is also an intrinsic part of the practice. I can't emphasize that enough, especially now, because we want to intellectualize. That's a pattern of our culture and society that most of us are comfortable with, and we can't intellectualize right now. We don't know what's going to happen moment to moment. This pandemic and this uprising of protest has been such an opportunity for self-reflection and really digging in. So I encourage you all to try not to intellectualize and try to just keep breathing, keep touching in with your bodies and your feelings, and find the wisdom in that.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's
Yes,
exactly right.
thank you.
Okay, we're getting close on time. Any other thoughts or feelings, insights, questions, comments? Linda, you're muted. I'm sorry.
Thank you, everybody, and especially you, Terry. But thank you, darlings.
Oh, thank you all. Thank you all. It's really a blessing. So you got the notice that we're going to do a monthly last Thursday of the month. We're calling it a special Lojong session, but I didn't really get into it in too much detail in the email. You all got the email though? Yeah.
I didn't, Terry, that I'm aware.
Okay. Oh, well, good. I'm glad you. I'll send it to you too, Linda.
Thank you.
What we're doing is the last Thursday of the month. We're going to do a 2-hour session, and so we'll start with the Lojong, or I mean with the Chenrezig, and then we'll just spend more time on the Lojong. Try maybe get through a part a month. It's a lot to cover in one session, but that's why
Are we going to start from the beginning again, or start?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
We'll start with the 4 thoughts on July 30th. Yeah, and then and it's the same link. It's just starting at 7 instead of 7:30, right? But anyway, I just wanted to make sure everybody got that notice. Anything else?
I did. I was on at 7 and wondered where everybody was. So I had to look at it again and see I was on the wrong day.
Awesome. I love that.
Thank
Good
you,
job.
Chris, I sent you my email because I like the YouTube link
Sure.
to your videos.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, friends. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and sorrow and the causes of suffering and sorrow. May we all remain undivided from the sacred joy, free from sorrow, and all together in this moment come to rest in the great equanimity beyond attachment or aversion. May our feet always be on the path. May our hearts be open, our minds clear, and all of our activities beneficial. All right, friends, we'll see you next week. Have a
Thank you
nice
so
day.
much,
you.
Terry. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
everyone. We'll see you next week.
Thank you,
Thank
Terry.
you. Thank you,
Bye,
darling.
guys.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Love you.
Bye.